All right. Good afternoon, good day, everybody. Haki Ami, the Success Scholar. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing wonderful here. It's a beautiful day. Hope you all are enjoying this lovely weather here, wherever you are. I'm hoping you're having some good weather wherever you are. But I am here, Haki Ami, Raising Consciousness and Capital. I have a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to introduce to many of you and someone who has been a world-renowned scholar, so to say. I'll just read a brief intro to Dr. Toni Luck. She's a world-renowned Hebrew biblical scholar, pastor, and African transformational specialist, public policy strategist, seasoned businesswoman, and entrepreneur and philanthropist. And she has a radio show, Voice of Wisdom radio show, and a TV personality. But but what I know, and she has a long bio, but I'll just say what I know from her, and a big highlight from her bio is she was best friends. One of her best friends was Winnie Mandela, and she also had the opportunity. She was the spiritual mom of Whitney Houston, and she blessed her in the Red Sea. Perhaps was it the Red Sea, ma'am?
No, the Jordan
River. The Jordan River. Okay, and the whole Houston family. So, Dr. Toni Luck, thank you for your time, for joining me here this morning. So, and she has worked, I'll say, in many different countries all over the world, but specifically in the Holy Land, of course, and South Africa, and many places all throughout Africa and all over the world. So, but Dr. Luck, thank you. Thank you for joining me here. And we met through the Artisan Conference that's going to be coming to South Africa. But you also live in South Africa, live in South Africa, or both, and so share, just open up a little bit about, your transition, of course, born and raised here in the DC area, right?
Well, I actually was born in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
Some 70 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I spent a lot of years, over 20 somewhat years, in the District of Columbia, working with the great Mayor Marion Barry and his vision for African American excellence.
Right,
and I went to Israel. In fact, I went to school in Israel, working on my doctorate in Old Testament Bible. What's called Old Testament Bible is really the Hebrew scriptures. I'm feeling today, I don't know what happened this morning. I don't know what I ate, but I feel like a little queasy. So if I'm a little slow, it's because I didn't want to disappoint you today.
Yeah,
and that's what soldiers do. We soldier on. We got a wound, we soldier on.
Right.
So I went to Israel in 1991 for the first time, and went back for several years on digs and excursions and schoolwork. And then in 96, I moved to Israel.
Okay.
And lived there actually for 10 years.
Wow.
And my youngest son was raised there, fluent in Hebrew, also a little Arabic, and he now is with me in South Africa. Around 2005, I moved from Israel. I kept going back, but my actual moving into South Africa was around 2006, 2007. And I've been there ever since. I met Mother Winnie in 1997 through the amazing grace of Minister Farrakhan, who we used to have Bible study together, and so I met her through him, and that day we forged a friendship, and it lasted till her last day on the earth in April 2018. And so I was very privileged to have 21 years of that friendship, and so that's how I really stayed in South Africa. I went for a client, but I ended up staying a longer time because Mother Winnie was there. So then my son came. I have two grandchildren. He has two children, and I have some other grandchildren. My granddaughter from America moved to South Africa, who you met the other day online. She's an amazing artist. And I have several spiritual children in South Africa, all who are involved. I was just on a Zoom call with Kim talking about that art is everything. She said, Harriet Tubman figuring out how to navigate freedom was an artistic endeavor. So I'm sure everything that we do has a great opportunity to be artistically immersed, but to give people an opportunity for life, love, the
Hmm.
pursuit of happiness. I know they don't guarantee happiness, it's just the pursuit of it.
Right.
We should have the freedom enough to pursue it without degradation. So that's a little bit to your answer, to your question.
Certainly, certainly. Well, I only have a few questions just to throw out there. So when we had lunch the other day, we talked about the ethnic differences. There are many different languages spoken in South Africa. Could you just talk to how, even for instance, people here, how we perceive race, for instance, may not be necessarily the same on a global uh, landscape. How many people, there are tribal differences based upon language. They may not necessarily understand, like, discrimination based upon being black, for instance. So can you just add on that, like,
Woo!
I don't know how many. Yes.
That's a big topic. First of all, there are 11 languages in
Okay.
South Africa, and they've added a 12th, which is sign language.
Mm.
But South Africa has a small amount of languages. In Nigeria, there's about 400, over 400,
Yes.
200 million people. So just like in the Bible, the color of a person's skin was never a discussion because everybody was black.
Hmm.
That was my thesis,
Wow.
my doctoral thesis. Everybody, the whole Bible is Africa until Paul makes his missionary journeys to Europe. So no one is described necessarily. Very few people are described as black at all or color at
Hmm.
all. They're described by their tribe. And it's the same thing all through Africa. People are described by their tribe. They're described by, the family, the familiar line of where they're born, their heritage, their ancestral connection. And so there's been a lot of troubling the waters, if I may, on separating us by culture, by our tribe, and we forget that we're all Africans. I
Mm.
think that was one of the biggest, among many things, that Colonel Gaddafi, president of Libya, who was assassinated in his own town, was trying to say to us that we're Africans first. We're Africans first. I mean, if you have a spiritual connection, then of course you're God's people first. But just on general anthropological terms, life terms, we're Africans. And then based on where we live or based on our family heritage or based on our geography, then we have put ourselves in these silos, and a lot of it, yes, is around language. A lot of it is around um, ancestral, cultural things.
Mm.
Some people do one thing, some other people do another thing. And normally, when that happens, people tend to gather around. I mean, and all of this to happen from the Tower of Babel. There was one language. There was the language of love. It was God's language of care and love and sensitivity.
Hmm.
And God asked people to spread that love language across the earth. And man, and this is captured in the Hebrew scriptures, and these are not fake stories because, of course, we are sitting with the result. So they decide now they don't want to do that. They're going to build a tower to the sky so they can do their own thing. And it was at that place that that language was dispersed, and God made us confused. And so the people with one language gathered here, and there's a whole etymological understanding of how language was even designed.
Mm.
But again, this is another way that people can be divided as opposed to finding the ways where people can be connected.
Mm.
And so I do spend a lot of time. I was part of the Perez Peace Center, which had some small impact. But there's a group of women all through Africa. In 2004, we got together in Nigeria and we created something called the Abuja Accords.
Mm.
And it's the aspiration of the African woman. And one of the biggest issues was peace and security for women,
Mhm. Mm.
and peace and security for their children.
Mm.
Because men go off to war and fight, and
Right. Right.
decide who's bigger, who's better,
Mhm.
and the women and the children suffer
Right. Right.
from the lack of having your man dead or your son dead, to the fact
Mm.
that women are credited against, they're raped, they're beat, they're all that kind
Mm.
of stuff, and
Wow.
the children are too. So again, we need to come back to God's idea of the language of love,
Mm.
because hate can't deal with hate, and pain can't take away. Only love can conquer hate. I mean, that's a song, but it's true.
Right.
And the truth of songs, which is again artistry, comes out of our shared experience.
Mhm.
Only love can conquer hate. So when someone steps on your toe and you think it's better to step back on their toe, they step on your toe again, you step on their foot, they step on your foot, you step on their leg, and then the next thing you know, there's the only thing that suffers when two bulls fight is the grass, and the grass then has no place to grow anything more.
Mhm.
And so this language culture, so what you guys are doing, and we're very happy you coming to South Africa. I'm glad you met our on ground faces team. We have a foundation called the Foundation for Authentic African
Mm.
Cultural Enrichment Systems.
Yes.
And what does that mean? It means we don't impose different things on other people. We first find out their culture, find out what do they
Right.
think about meat, for example, or what do they think about vegetables, or what do they think about money, or what do they think about God, or what do they think about women or men or children. And you try to get on ground. So I've been on ground in Africa almost 30 years,
Wow.
learning and understanding what people think about themselves first.
Mhm.
And then we get an opportunity to see what people then think about the other person. And
Mhm.
we try to work in the communities to say, Ubuntu is a very important African word, it's a very important African concept. I
Mhm.
exist because you exist. I'm here because you're here. And,
Mhm.
what happens to me happens to you. Well, Yeshua said the same thing. Do unto
Yes.
your neighbor as you want them to do unto you. If you see me,
Mhm.
you see the Father. If you see me, you see yourself. Somehow, over time, and greed and avarice and evil and other people's wicked imagination, we have forgotten that we have more in common than we have
Mm.
not in common. And the
Wow.
places that we don't agree, we can find a very useful way to disagree without being disagreeable.
Mhm. Wow.
And
Yeah.
so you're coming with the Chi and what we do in Faces and many other organizations. It's
Mhm.
wonderful, wonderful. You're going to find yourself amidst amazing people in South Africa, who have, surviving apartheid, no joke. I mean, we talk about
Yes.
various
Yes.
kinds of slavery
Mm.
and the various kinds of abuse that people have suffered. But just the idea of 4 million people can hold down 40 million people, the
Mm.
level of fear and anxiety, what happened there, and a lot of it becomes very understanding with art. How did we get there? How did they get there? How did even
Wow.
slavery, how did a few white men get on a boat and take villages with 10,000 men?
Mm. Wow.
You know, so
Yes.
all of that can be unpacked by art. All of that can be
Mhm.
unpacked by artistry. All of
Yes.
that can be unpacked by discussion, by writing, by painting, by poetry, by
Mhm.
architecture, by geography.
Mhm.
But we
Mhm.
have to be willing, we have to be really willing, all sit down at the table of love
Mm.
without
Wow.
recrimination, without you did this to me, with just kind of no shame, no blame, no guilt. Let's see, because if we don't raise our frequencies, if we don't get to higher frequencies where love lives,
Mhm.
and we keep at these base frequencies of fear and lack and hatred and jealousy and envy, which is low frequencies,
Mm-hmm.
where death lives, where disease lives, where poverty lives. If we don't start elevating ourselves to a consciousness of peacefulness and joy
Right.
and love, we're going to always be in the situations that we see all around us, and they're happening all around us. It's not just what just happened in South Africa; it's happening everywhere. People are all like this everywhere.
Yes. No, thank you for sharing that. And Mr. Brother Bob Lott from Philadelphia says
Hello,
hello to
Bob.
you.
Now that's an artist. That
Yeah.
Bob Lott is a genius. He created films.
Yes. Yes.
He captures life.
Mm-hmm.
He has a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful film. I hope he puts his website so everybody can see. He's always being a disruptor
Yes. 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 Indeed.
of life to give us more information and push us. He
Mm-hmm.
pushes us.
Right.
So hi, Bob. Thank you for
All
watching.
right. Yes, yes. Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Brother Bob Law, for chiming in. So I didn't want to hold you up too long. We just wanted to certainly give the listening audience a taste, but just really quick, many people, I know that, you get asked this about your relationship to Winnie Mandela. Of course, you said you met her through Farrakhan, and you have, you sort of spent a significant time with her, throughout. Was that like during President Mandela's, Nelson Mandela's, when they were together, or like more so afterward?
As it was ending, it's 1997.
Okay.
The minister introduced me in 1997, and then we stayed friends till she died in 2018.
Wow.
But I was privileged to just hear all of her stories. I mean, this was a woman of, when people ask me about her, and
Mm-hmm.
I can talk about her for like 20 years because
Right.
nothing anybody thinks they know about her is true.
Wow.
She was a magnificent spirit. The suffering that she endured, very few of the men endured.
Wow.
The torture and the things are just too heinous even to repeat that would happen to one woman.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's because of her that we know Nelson Mandela. Because for the 27 years that he was imprisoned, she kept his name alive. Not just kept hope alive, she kept him alive.
Wow.
In the minds of people, in the hearts of people. There were 16 or 17 other people who went to jail with him. We know about them in South Africa, of course, but the world doesn't know them as an iconic figure, but they know him because of her. And I think that because she was so determined for freedom, going back to Kim's expose earlier today about Harriet Tubman, because Winifred Nozama Madikizela Mandela was so steeped in the freedom of our people that she couldn't stay quiet, and she didn't stay quiet. And she was passionate about freedom, but she was not that whole violent story. When white people like us too much, we probably need to be a little scared. So because their whole program, they don't understand who we are to God. They should really take a grip. There are some who do. I met a lot of rabbis in Israel who understood that we were the people of the book they're studying.
Wow.
And I'm not pushing I don't need to push a black theology agenda. I just have to open the book in geography. Where's the Nile River? Where's Egypt? Where's Ethiopia? Where's Libya? Where's the Euphrates? I don't have to push. If these things were in, Copenhagen, I would say yes, but we're stuck with geography. That's why they severed. They severed and called that our history book from Genesis to Malachi. They severed and called it the Old Testament. Because when you start in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, there's no geography. Their geography is Rome is in Palestine. Where the hell is that?
Right.
So there's no geography. But when you start in Genesis 1 and go through the deed that God gave to Abraham for us, he uses rivers and lands. Well, those rivers and lands don't show up from Matthew to the beginning of Revelation.
Wow.
So because we've been severed, and one thing Winnie used to say, she used to say Jerusalem was Africa's Mecca, if you will. You know, Africans needed to look to Jerusalem, but not the way it's configured now, because that's a modern state of Israel. And nobody's mad about having a modern state of Israel, but you can't ignore the land of Israel, which God gave to Abraham from Ginger, Uganda, where the Blue Nile starts, all the way up to Baghdad, Iraq, where the Euphrates ends. That's geography.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so our people got all excited about black theology. The whole Bible's black theology until Paul makes his missionary journeys. Everybody black. That's why you don't hear black. You hear Assyrians and Judeans and Simeonites and you know what I mean? You hear cultures, you hear tribal information. And all the tribes, just like now, everybody don't get along because they're not working from a higher frequency of love and peace and bliss. They're working from a very low consciousness of greed. It's mine, that's mine, that's mine. How did some white men in 1844 sit in Berlin and chop up a continent? That's crazy. That's crazy.
Right.
Okay, that's greed, that's avarice, that's even now with this, you know, the issues we're facing now. Somebody's deciding we got too many people. Too many people where? You fly over Africa, it's empty.
Right.
Fly over Africa, it's empty.
Right.
No people. We what's wrong is bad leadership. What's wrong is the reallocation of resources. What does one person need with $200 billion? I was reading something this morning that, you know, you one person with billions and one other person with $1.
Yes.
How do we reconcile that? Just as people.
Right.
Just as people. Just how do we reconcile that behavior? So the arts and what you guys are doing, what Kim and yourself are doing, and what our people in Faces and other places all over Africa are doing, are trying to raise the bar. What Bob Lott is doing, trying to raise the bar of consciousness so that we can really take our place as God's people, as opposed to a lower vibration of really darkness and hatred and that kind of stuff. And so the art allows us that, because, you know, when you hear a good symphony, you know, when you see a play, when you hear a poem, you know, when you hear Maya Angelou's And Still We Rise, I mean, what? You know, I mean, what? You know, so, you know, when you hear music, you know, when you anybody, you hear Luther Vandross, you hear Whitney's song, you hear Teddy Pendergrass, who was a good friend. In fact, Bob Lott introduced me to him.
Oh, wow. Okay, yes.
Because we were bringing Teddy to South Africa.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A few years ago, yes, before he passed, he sent his staff. It was going to be a great opportunity to just do cross culture, because South Africa loves African American music all through the 40s, 50s, 60s. A good portion of their music was African American music. So there's lots of history connecting history, you know. But here again, forces that be have decided to disconnect us. And to make us dislike us, whether it's the color line, if you're lighter or darker, then you have different situations. And so it's not just among tribes. Sometimes it's inside the tribe.
Wow.
We have situations inside the tribe that also go to I'm better, best, you're less, you're more. You know, I mean. So we got to get rid of all that. But someone imposed that on us. Because we do have records that show that, Zadwa's this is Mama Winnie's personal assistant for many years, over 10 years, wonderful, faithful. Hello, Zadwa. Thank you for checking in. But we have history and we have records where we did get along. And
Mm-hmm.
it's always been outside forces that have determined that we should no longer get along. So they set up these artificial, what should I say, regulators, artificial,
Mm.
to say this, okay, if you got this, you're better. If you have this, you're better. If you don't have that, you're worse. So
Mm.
we've set up all these artificial barriers, and we've forgotten good leadership. We've set up, I always tell people, they tell me about corruption in Africa. I'm saying, well, corruption is not a unilateral activity. It's a bilateral activity. You have to have a corruptor
Mm-hmm.
to have a
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
corruptee. And
Yes.
imagine someone's mad. I'm not in any way allowing for the kind of things that happen with black people when we lash out, we break things, we steal things, we steal a TV or radio, and that's all across the world. I mean, whether it's Arab Spring or Detroit or Johannesburg.
Mm.
But these people who are talking about us, they steal countries.
Right.
They steal countries with the people in them.
Yes. Yes.
They
Yes.
steal the stuff that people own.
Mm.
The nerve of them to
Mm.
say that Africa is poor. Africa supports the West.
Mm. Right. Right.
We,
Right.
everything the West uses in terms of at least even the material things, the minerals come from Africa. How could we be poor? If we so poor, why you over
Mm.
there?
Right.
If we so
Right.
poor, why you there? Go get on a plane. Well, before COVID, planes are filled with white people.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Going to Zimbabwe, going to South Africa, going to Ghana, going to Kenya, going to Tanzania,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
going to
And
the DRC, going to Angola, going to Central African Republic. If we so poor, what the hell are you coming over there for? Because we're not. If we support them, and not a lot of people have said it, but the last two French presidents said, without Africa, France would have imploded.
mm.
Well, they
Wow.
all can say that. Belgium, Spain, France, UK, US.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
US is the most powerful country. You got, 400 years of free labor and free land. The two
Right.
most important ingredients
Mm-hmm.
on
Mm-hmm.
setting up a business is land and people. They got the land, they took it from the Native Americans,
Right.
and then they brought over millions of slaves to work it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
then the worst part about every of this is every time we get a leader that's not trying to take something from them, but trying to do something with what he's been given, they get assassinated.
Mm. Right. Right. Right.
And that's just not in Africa. That's in South America. That's in South Asia.
Yes. Yes. And
That's
Haiti.
all
Right.
over. Who told them they had the right to do that?
Mm. Yes.
And who's empowering them? So I'm saying that may be a little group that has guns and power and money. Yes, no question. But we
Mm-hmm.
are more than them. We could take them if we would have an elevation of love.
Right.
And I'm not
Right.
talking no mamsy pamsy weak kind of thing. I'm talking about the whole understanding of crafting. Let me give an example from Winnie's time, and then I know we're gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
During the time of the insurrection of the freedom fight
Mm.
to free South Africa from this heinous apartheid, she put down a couple of rules, and two of them stuck with me forever. One was we would not destroy the infrastructure. Now, that's the first level of warfare. Break everybody's stuff. She said no, because when we get the country, her faith was so deep. When we get the country, who's going to fix it? And of course, you can go to Detroit now. You can go to places in Chicago. You can go to places in Brooklyn and the Bronx of New York, and you will see stuff that's still broken from the 60s right. Because nobody's coming to fix your infrastructure if you broke it. The second thing she said, which is the most amazing love potential, no soft targets. Now, in war, everybody kills everybody. The dog, the cat, the grandmama, the suckling mother, everybody. She said no soft targets, only combatants. Do you understand the level of consciousness of a person who's been suffering the most heinous crime is saying, "No, we're not gonna kill your kids. We're not gonna kill your wives. We are men and women of virtue. We are men and women of honor, and we will fight combatants."
Mm.
So all this lies about farm murders and all that, that's some aberration. That is not the idea of
Mm.
Black people. We don't do that.
Mm.
We really don't.
Mm.
You know, if you even during Black Lives Matter with the poor George Floyd being murdered in our eyes, 9 minutes, 6 seconds, whatever that madness was.
Mm-hmm.
When the cops came and they got on their knees, there were protesters put their signs down and go hug the cops.
Right.
I mean, really?
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
raised their babies. We didn't kill them. We
Mm.
didn't grind glass in their food. I mean, yes,
Mm.
there were insurrections. We didn't all take it. But Harriet Tubman, when she was on the Underground Railroad, she never told any of the slaves she freed, by the way, burn down the barn on the way out.
Mm. Mm.
You know, kill your master, poison his tea because you're leaving.
Mm.
All of those things have been done in the earth. When we look at war, it's
Mm-hmm.
not present. That's why we need to tell how horrible it is so we can stop. But now we got drones. So somebody's playing on a console and he done bombed. I just saw the building they bombed in Syria. Really? So somebody's playing on a console because they don't see, at least when we had real combat, you saw your enemy and you had to go up to them. I mean, there was a time when we had bayonets. So somebody saw you being stabbed. Now some joker somewhere flying a drone and dropping a
Mm-hmm.
bomb.
Mm.
Well, how is that? Really?
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So the things, and we're dropping them on innocent people. And we must remember Nagasaki and Hiroshima. No
Mm.
military targets there, and Japan was
Wow.
standing down.
Mm.
That
Mm-hmm.
that white flag, that white flag means something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then it
Right.
was disregarded. So
Yes.
I'm just saying there's a level of people. And so going circling back to your art, music, drama,
Mm-hmm.
history,
Yes.
all the things that make us think about bigger than my little space is what
Mm-hmm.
we need in the earth, and we need more and more of it. We need more and more of it. I'm back to the Bible. I remember when Saul wasn't feeling well, he asked David to play, and the spirits that were negative went. Because that's what music does. That's what art does. That's what good theater does. And we need to take some of that back because we lost it. There was a time when the hip hop started, it was wonderful. Then it went so gangsterism, and we became bees and hoes, and
Mm-hmm.
so you can't talk about your mom, your sister like that. You ain't talking about your mama.
Right. Right.
So then
Right.
then we want to know, where does abusive women come from? Nothing is not connected.
Right. Right. Right.
Everything is connected.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
if we could pass that on through this program you're going to do in South Africa, what we do at Faces, what we do around the world, trying to make people just think about choices. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I can, you
Yes.
know,
Yes. Yes.
50% of what happens to us, we can't do anything about. But I have 100% power over what I do about it, what I say about it, and what I think about it. I get the right to write my own story. That's why art is so important. I get to write what this means to me and
Mm-hmm.
how I'm going to allow that thing that was not nice to affect me in the long run. I have that choice, and I can take that choice and
Wow.
do something to grow. So I can take the doodle that you throw on me and throw it back
Mm-hmm.
on you, or wear
Mm-hmm.
it, or I can plant it and get a tree.
Mm. Wow. Powerful. Powerful. Yes, no, so definitely, definitely, we appreciate you taking the time, to drop this on the listeners. Shout out to Lightbur who just chimed in. But we want to thank you, Dr. Toni Luck. She has how many books you have? 17? You have books, right?
I've written 17. In fact, I have one here I'll show you.
Please,
It's
please.
the benefits of a bankrupt life.
Oh, right, right.
It's
Yes.
on, but the rest I haven't published. I've been too chicken to
Okay.
publish them. So I give them away. And I think I was chicken. And one of my granddaughter Nia, who's born on my birthday, she's in South Africa. She said, Grandma, if something happens to you and you like go to heaven or something, all your books are in a computer, at least can you give us one? So this
Okay.
was done in 2019, and I'm getting ready to publish two in 2022.
Beautiful,
But they're
beautiful.
all biblically based. Um, I've been asked often to write a story about my life. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it for people who remember. I got too much information about too many things.
Okay, wow.
You know, so it's something about being, around for a while.
Mm,
But the point is we can do better.
right, right,
God
yeah.
designed us, Haki, to do better.
Yes.
And we have
Amen.
taken the low road, the easy road, the greedy road, the selfish road, the avaricious road, which
Mm-hmm.
looks like we're getting something, but we really don't
Mm,
have it. Because I've never
right.
seen a U-Haul behind a hearse.
Mm,
So you can have as
wow.
much as you have if you don't want to share it. The only way to keep it and to have a legacy that has power is to give it away.
Mm-hmm. Mm,
So you hoarding it and keeping it and getting more and getting more and getting more.
mm,
Well,
right.
when they opened up Tutankhamun's grave, he was dead and the stuff was there and it's now in the British Museum.
Mm, right, right,
So I'm
right.
just saying, you can amass
Yeah.
as much stuff as you want. It is
Mm,
not going with you to the next life.
mm,
The only
wow.
thing going with you to the next life is your courage and your tenacity and your integrity. That's what God's going to ask you about. And this
Wow.
is what I say to people all the time. I would rather live that there's a God and find that there isn't a God. I would have
Mm,
still had a great life. Than to live
mm,
like this wasn't a God and then get there and find out there isn't. It would be too late.
mm, mm,
So
wow.
so many people are living like they ain't got nothing to respond to. All these
Mm,
preachers and pastors doing all ridiculous stuff. They act like they don't have a day where they have a reckoning. Okay.
mm, wow.
You can choose that as a path, but when you find out that the path you chose was wrong, it'll be too late. So I tell
Mm,
people, act like you're gonna see God. Act like you're gonna meet a creator who is going to ask you what you did with your life. Just make believe. Let's have a myth that there's somebody at the end of this time you have going to ask you what you did and going to grade you on that. Let's make believe.
mm,
And let's see
mm,
how that works out for you, because while you're making believe that you're going to have to give an account, your life's going to have peace and joy because you're going to
wow.
want to do good and you want to be nice and you don't want to cheat and steal and lie and hurt people because, and while you're not doing those bad things, your own
Mm,
life is opening up
mm,
and you're
mm,
doing great and you're feeling freedom and you're feeling opportunity to share. So just do that for
mhm.
a habit. This as a trick to yourself.
Wow.
Because the other alternative is that you're going to meet somebody and you're not going to make it. So let's see if that may not appeal. That don't appeal to me. So I live
Mm,
like there's a God, and if I find out that when I die, I'm dead, it's finished, then I would have had a good time in the time.
mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. Wow, the numbers are jumping up here, and people are commenting, of course. So we
Do you have
appreciate
any
you.
questions? Anybody ask a question that I
For
need to
sure. If
respond to?
anybody, yeah, no, Lightbird just chimed in, said that's what suffering is. So a few more people are in here, but no one
Well,
else is
suffering
out
is
there.
relative, like there is
Mm,
suffering is relative. It depends on how you see it.
mm,
Everything is about perspective.
mm,
So no, I'm not happy when good things happen. That's what I'm saying. That life, that 21 years with Winnie Mandela was interesting because I don't know another living person who suffered what she suffered. I mean,
mm,
we suffer things. I've been a rape victim, but
mm,
I've never ever heard the things that this lady went through.
mm,
And yet, if you look at her pictures, I mean, beautiful. Because that meant something in her heart.
mm,
Because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And also, you know, you can see people who are wrinkled and shivering because they unforgiving. And that's right, Liberia. If you're not living right, you do suffer. But because stupidity of our brain makes us think we're doing okay. When we don't even understand we are suffering. You know, we may have a big car and a big house and people, but we are internally suffering. From the material world, someone told us that that was a bigger world than the immaterial world. It isn't.
Wow.
It isn't.
Wow.
You don't see the air, but you don't hold your breath. So people shouldn't get as stupid about the fact that they can't see God. They can't see. Well, okay. But you can see goodness, and you can see love.
Right.
And you can see righteousness, and you can see goodness. And that's outside of you to another person, to your community, to your family, to your friends, to your kids, to your co-workers, to your enemies. Because God has promised when a man or woman's ways please the Lord, he makes even his enemies be at peace with him. What a bargain.
Wow.
That doesn't mean I have to have you at my table, because there's a difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. So we need to learn that. You know, forgiveness, I don't need the perpetrator. I can forgive you for me. Reconciliation, the perpetrator has to come back. They have to say they did it. They have to not did it again. And then they have to restore me to where I was before they did it. We don't want to do that. You know, you got these people say, it wasn't me, it was my grandfather. Okay, then give me the stuff you're using that granddaddy left you. It might not have been you physically, but you are the recipient of granddaddy's avarice. So give it back.
Right.
And at least share it. No, you just hoard. It ain't yours. Granddaddy stole it. He passed it on to you down generations. Now I'm coming and telling you, we need to kind of have some balance, some equalization here. And you tell me it wasn't you. All right, then you need to relinquish the stuff since it wasn't you. And we have proven that granddaddy stole it. Give it back. No, they don't want to.
Wow.
So no, we can't reconcile. I don't know where we reconcile, and you just say, "Oh, get over it."
Right.
And I'm the get over girl. I'm the get over it person. I'm like, come on, let's keep moving. Get up. Let's get up. But at some point, we have to at least have an honest conversation that you can't have all the stuff from my land, and I have none of the stuff from my land, and you and I want to be friends. How?
Right. Wow. True.
So these are the conversations I'm glad you're having. Again, we need to have more of them where people actually say what needs to be said, but we're frightened, we're afraid, who's going to take us, who's going to bother us, who's going to kill us, who's going to hurt us, who's going to hurt our kids. So we got the Stockholm syndrome. We sympathize with our oppressor.
Yes.
And then we want to be like them. So we suffer from PTSD and Stockholm syndrome. We need to get delivered from both.
Yes. Amen. Amen.
And become the good leaders that God had originally assigned for us. We were supposed to bless the whole world, and we really do. Because the whole world they took people, they took stuff, they took land. And look at Europe. Find me a diamond in Copenhagen. Find me some gold in Berlin. Find me some gold in the UK, except that vault. But find me some in the ground.
Right.
Find me some diamonds in the ground of Europe. Then we have something to talk about.
Right. Okay. Yes. So that was powerful. We appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to connecting with you. And I want to encourage you all. She has a YouTube page. You have a YouTube page as well, right? I have a
YouTube channel, which I haven't put anything up for a while, but I keep getting prodded to do it but I'm trying to. I can't stay neutral, but there's some issues that keep coming up that we act like we don't understand them, and so there's one on there that says I can't stay quiet any longer. You know, we keep fighting about our Black children dying on the street. But we've let these people convince us that when an
Mm.
egg hits a sperm, it's a fetus and not an embryo. But the reason
Mm.
you know you're pregnant in 8 weeks is because there's some person there.
Right.
So women have the right to their bodies. I'm absolutely pro that. But you have the right
Mm-hmm.
not to get pregnant. But once you get pregnant, then there's some human rights of another person. So we
Mm-hmm.
kill 50 million of those people every year in the name of freedom for women.
Mm-hmm.
So now
Yeah.
when the spiritual energy of death has been loosed into the world by the women,
Mm-hmm.
then he kills everybody.
Mm.
Wars, famine,
Yeah.
shooting in Chicago, killing on the streets of Johannesburg, killing on the streets of Sao Paulo.
Yes. Yes.
So really, but these are connected. We don't want to connect them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we've convinced women they have freedom. You do have freedom. Get an
Mm.
IUD, you get a patch, take the pill, get
Mm.
a history. But
Yes.
once that
Wow.
egg and sperm get is the person, now we convince women, mothers, nurturers, Mother Earth. Oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
not a person.
Mm.
And I'm not talking about the 2 or 3% that come from rape and incest. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the 97%. That's your freedom of choice. So we
Mm-hmm.
got a lot of those kind of problems that we don't connect. We act like they're in silos, but they at the end of the day, they all come like this.
Mm. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, all right, beautiful. Well, this has been tremendously beneficial and powerful.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure many people enjoyed it, and we look forward to hearing from you and see you very shortly. And of course, everyone, for those that are interested in the South African tour and the conference, it's going to be awesome.
We
Dr.
welcome
Luck
you all
is,
to come to South Africa, please.
yes,
We're
please, please,
safe.
please.
We're safe because it's safe. I mean, we're safe as we can be when we allow God. I mean, really. I'm in Washington, D.C. today. Am I safe?
Okay. Right. Exactly. Exactly. So, just educate yourself on everything, basic precautions, but just keep an open mind and
Right.
you know, grow globally, shall I say. So that's what we must do. And I'm looking forward to coming to South Africa for my first time. So
Oh, welcome. We're going to
thank you.
welcome you. You're going to get a wonderful welcome
Yes,
home. I'm telling you, our team is ready for you, and the
Ashe,
country is ready, really.
Ashe, Ashe.
I
All
say.
right. So everybody, to follow up, you can go to Teaching Artists Institute Facebook page, Teaching Artists Institute Facebook page, or just leave a message here, inbox myself here, or leave your name or number here, or inbox me. However, Haki Success Scholar, I'm all over. You can find me on many different channels and everything. So thank you, Dr. Luck, and
Thank
we
you,
shall see
Taki.
you very soon. Thanks a lot, everybody. Till next time, we out.